This is exactly the spark that the Philadelphia 76ers needed. After an absolutely disastrous season in which everything that could go wrong did go wrong for the Sixers franchise, we have life again. Shout out to Jared McCain for being the good luck charm that this Sixers franchise needed, not having any of these Sixers curse on him just yet, and allowing this team to get the third overall pick in this year's NBA draft. That is right. We have a chance to add another key prospect to this current team. And I understand that the vibes have been very down in this franchise overall, but ladies and gentlemen, we have life. I do want to reflect on exactly what this meant for the Sixers franchise, what it could mean moving forward, and the unique opportunity of what the Sixers do have a chance to do. Now, before I dive fully into it, do want to remind you guys, as always, to make sure you are smashing that subscribe button. And at this point in the game, 61.6% of you guys watching these videos have not subscribed to us here at Sixers Digest just yet, so make sure you're hitting that button. Appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in, and cannot wait to reflect on exactly what went down last night. Now, obviously, we do know at this point in the game, these Sixers had the third overall pick, but that was up in the air leading up to the NBA draft lottery. About a 64% chance of the Sixers keeping that pick, meaning a 36% chance that they did not, but the basketball gods for once were in our favor. Now, to reflect on exactly how things did go down, do want to at least acknowledge the odds before I reflect on what they could do with this draft pick here. The Sixers were looking at a 10.5% chance at the first pick, a 10.5% chance at that second pick, and a 10.6% chance at that third pick, which is ultimately how things went down. And I did watch, shout out to Zach Lowe, kind of the behind the scenes of how things went down. Boy, the Sixers odds got much slimmer than that, as ultimately we sort of understood the situation that how the draft lottery works, you pick out the first four selections and then fill out things from there. The things, obviously, you just kind of bump down the line. They make sure teams do not drop too far for that very reason. I do have some sympathy for the Washington Wizards, the Utah Jazz, the Brooklyn Nets, who did the exact same thing the Sixers did, except to a fuller extent and more intentional going into the season, and did not get rewarded to it. But for the Sixers specifically, they did not get that first overall pick. It did go to the Dallas Mavericks, which is unfortunate. Then the number 2 to the San Antonio Spurs, another team that, to be honest, doesn't really deserve it. You guys got Victor Wembanyama. You guys got Stephen Castle. You guys are moving in the right direction here, but the Sixers did get that third pick. So if that had not happened, if their lottery ball had not been selected at that third or fourth pick, because once again, those were the only 4 that were picked there, they would have missed that pick outright there. They would have been bumped out of the lottery completely, but luckily we do have it. Now, to talk about the pick overall, I do want to first note what is being said by Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse here. They've revealed a little bit of their hand in things, and kind of in a way that I have been surprised. First, I want to start off with Daryl Morey, who did join 97.5 earlier, saying, quote, "Yeah, that's the plan. To get a high upside player that we think can contribute right away is a big deal, and we feel like pick 3 is a great spot to be." Now, obviously, when speaking about this draft, we've known who the number 1 overall pick is going to be for quite some time, years at this point, that being, of course, Cooper Flagg. And I won't lie to you guys, as the lottery was going down, I was taking things in at shout out to the Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast, watching their or at their event there, kind of the watch party that they did have there. And once we did get past, knowing that the Sixers were in the top 4, I was all in. I was drinking the Kool-Aid, believing Cooper Flagg was coming to Philadelphia, but ultimately did not happen. I cannot complain about getting the third overall pick. I enter the day with the belief if they just retain their draft pick, that is a massive win. And ultimately, that is what happened. Now, to speak a little bit about their options here, let's pull up a little mock draft from Tankathon.com. This does have Cooper Flagg at number 1, clear-cut, obvious. Dylan Harper at number 2, which I do think is clear-cut and obvious. I will note, I think it's a little clear-cut and less obvious that it will be the Spurs making their pick. It would not shock me at this point in the game. That is a team that, if they feel it is the right move, is really intriguing to me to start talking about a pairing of Giannis and Victor Wembanyama. I do think they have the ammunition to make that happen if that is the best direction they see fit. And ultimately, the draft does start at the Philadelphia 76ers. Now we have Ace Bailey on the board here. I'll be up front that is my leading candidate for who the Sixers should select, but we're going to dive. We have plenty of time until the NBA draft, going to look at all of their options that they do have on their table. As I mentioned, I do think the draft does start at the Sixers selection. I think there's a clear-cut top 2 and a pretty notable gap between, I don't want to say the rest of the guys, but you can make a case for a lot of different players in a way that I don't think is the case at the top of this draft. Now, to just speak about this from the Sixers perspective, this is a huge deal here. I think the Tyrese Maxey draft selection and hitting on him becoming the star player, the all-star that he is growing into and has already become, extended the window to win with Joel Embiid. The Jared McCain selection opened up an entire new window to win for this Sixers franchise, a life post-Joel Embiid that looks more encouraging than ever. This draft pick has a chance to tie together both. We've seen franchises try to execute this before, the two timeline strategy, and that is exactly what the Sixers do have a chance to do. Now, to be clear, I am sure Daryl Morey will comb over all options that he does have. He will take phone calls, he will explore opportunities that they do have. I think the Sixers 1000% do have to walk away with a rookie, with a top-tier draft pick, a guy that you believe could be a foundational piece of this franchise moving forward. Now, why do I say that? Who knows when they will be picking this high again, and I do think there are players like Ace Bailey that could help this team right away. Now, to reflect on what we have for this Sixers team, do want to take a look at the multi-year cap sheet. We know the commitment to Joel Embiid, that he is going to be under contract up until a player option in that 28-29 season. Paul George still under contract for 3 more seasons. Tyrese Maxey on the books for the foreseeable future. And then here's where we get into the guys that are important to note as well. Kelly Oubre Jr., by all indications, does seem like he's going to be picking up that player option, about $8 million there. Frankly, I know there's a lot of Kelly haters in the chat, in the comments there. I think Kelly at $8 million is a totally satisfactory deal, and I would even argue a little bit plus value. I think Kelly's a little bit of a case where last year we saw a little too much Kelly Oubre Jr., but in the right role, I do believe he can still be an impactful player. He's not perfect, he has his flaws, but the dude competes his butt off every single night, and I've gained a lot of respect for Kelly for just handling himself as a professional in the way where we've seen how these seasons have gone off the rails, particularly last year. Andre Drummond, also under the impression, by all indications, he will be opting into that player option. A bit of a different situation there, as I'm not going to make the case that this is good value. I think this is a case where he would not touch remotely that number at $5 million on the open market, and that is why he's opting back in. Now, to be fair to Drummond here, he does seem to legitimately love Philadelphia. He was impacted by injury last year with the toe injury, and maybe, just maybe, we could get an improved season with all circumstances better next year if things go right. Quentin Grimes, kind of surprised with the openness that Daryl Morey is speaking on almost certainty that Grimes will be back in uniform. Now, he is a restricted free agent, which means the Sixers do have a chance to match whatever offer is thrown his way. I don't think Daryl Morey would have made that trade without the intention of keeping him, and frankly, he proved why that is the case with his second half performance. Truly the lone bright spot in that second half of the season where they were a truly dreadful basketball team. Jared McCain, our good luck charm on that stage, coming back from his meniscus injury, a guy who would have run away with Rookie of the Year, and I do believe is going to be such a crucial part of this team moving forward. And we can go down the list. Eric Gordon, another guy who is sort of in that Drummond category that I don't think he would get his value of what he's under the contract for if he were to hit the open market, and does seem to be under the expectation he will return. Yabusele, we're going to have some tough conversations. The odds of keeping him are not looking that particularly great, but with that being said, the money dries up around the NBA a little bit quicker than a lot of us like to realize. So while them retaining the pick does not help the cap situation for having a chance to keep him, I would love Yabu back under all circumstances. I am praying that Daryl Morey can pull a rabbit out of his hat, but we will ultimately see here. Now, why I bring all that up is that is the core of this Sixers team. The third pick is the X factor to what you can add. They're not going to have this lucrative money to go out and make these big name signings. You are banking on better injury luck to bring this core back. Now, with all that being said, I'm optimistic about that. That I think you look around the Eastern Conference right now, things are for the taking. Now, we are in the middle of the playoffs, and we are seeing the teams that have success. We will see what happens this year. I know the Knicks are making me eat quite a few words, and I'm sure Knicks fans will be letting me hear it in the comments. I know you're just waiting. I see you in my mentions all over the place, and I have to eat that. I have to be well aware that you guys are having success, so have your fun. No problems here. But when looking forward to next year, take a look at the Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics, all prayers to him, do feel horrible, but Jason Tatum tore his Achilles. Not only is that ruling him out for the remainder of this playoffs, but that will take a significant portion of next year. And not only that, that puts that team in a pretty difficult spot from a decision-making process. They are not in a good place from a Caps perspective, and I do think there are big changes on the horizon for the Celtics team. They were already sort of considering that before the injury, and that kind of makes the decision for them. I do think the Celtics, I'm not going to say full out blow it up, but multiple of their key contributors will not be back next year. Kristaps Porzingis, I pretty much see zero world in which he is back. Drew Holiday, they're going to have some hard conversations about. There even is a case to be made about Jaylen Brown, what his future will be. Still plenty of time to unpack that there. But to move down the list, the Milwaukee Bucks, Damian Lillard also with the torn Achilles, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, the trade rumors are heating up. I do not think Giannis will be back with the Bucks. That's two of the top contenders basically off the table there. To move deeper, the Pacers and Knicks, got to give them their respect. They're getting their wins. They are going to be back next year as well. But does that really scare you that much if you're the Sixers? I personally feel the answer to that is no. That if you're going to make the best player in the series conversation, neither of those teams are going to have it if things break right for the Sixers. And frankly, I think there's a conversation to be had, particularly in the Pacers matchup, that multiple Sixers could be the best player on the floor over what Indiana has, although Halliburton has certainly had his ups and downs and had some real significant flashes there. The Cleveland Cavaliers, we've sort of seen them shown their hat of they are a very good regular season team, but can this team win in the playoffs? The opportunity is there for this Sixers team to absolutely step back in the contending conversation, and that starts with nailing this draft pick. Now, we are going to go through each of these names on this channel. I personally very much do believe that Ace Bailey is in the lead at this current time. The reason that I say that, for starters, did have a chance to check him out in person down at Rutgers, and the way that my takeaway from walking away from that game, the motor is there. That's something that is going to play in Philadelphia, and frankly, I think is necessary in this Sixers team. Having a guy that has that motor is going to pour it all on the floor. That fits Ace. Now, there's things that he needs to clean up. I get the case for VJ Edgecombe, and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into him as well. Trey Johnson, you can make an argument, some somewhat similarities to Ace Bailey. I just think Bailey has a little bit more of a complete package, and I think there's a much wider variance in who Trey Johnson is. We're going to go down each of these names. Con Knippel, if you really are sipping the Kool-Aid there, I like Con. I don't like Con at 3, to be perfectly honest there. Jeremiah Fears is intriguing to me. Another guy I like but would not touch at 3. Common Maluak, you can make a case to me. We can start to have that a little bit. I like Maluak a lot. But the real takeaway here is the Sixers are walking away with a draft pick. That they do have a chance to build a foundation of youth for the post-Joel Embiid era. To turn the keys over to not just Tyrese Maxey, not just Jared McCain, but another key part of that trio there, that next generation of Sixers basketball. So everything has kind of changed for this Sixers franchise. For once, we did get a stroke of good luck, and we should feel nothing but thrilled about that. So shout out to the lottery gods, shout out to the basketball gods, shout out to Adam Silver for allowing this all to happen here. There is life in this Sixers organization. This was a brutal year, but things are looking brighter on the horizon. So shout out to you guys. We're going to have plenty of content coming out on everything leading up to the draft. So if you have not already, make sure you are smashing that subscribe button here. Once again, only 38.4% of you guys watching these videos have subscribed just yet. I am back fired up about this Sixers team, and it has been months since I've felt this passionate and thrilled. So cannot wait to further expand on all of this in the weeks leading up to this draft year and then beyond, as the Sixers should be back on the NBA map next season. I appreciate you guys for tuning into this video here. Make sure you're dropping a like if you have not already, dropping your comments below, and I'll be back. Talk with you next time. Peace.